Our next guests are from Jackson College. We have the founder and director of the Jackson College Heritage Center, Diana Agee, along with one of her top volunteers, Barb Markowski. Diana, Barb, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
First off, we should let people know what the Heritage Center is. It's somewhat new and in a fairly new location.
Yes, the Heritage Center is in a new location, and we're in the front of the Potter Center at Jackson College. When you first walk in, right across from the ticket booth. But it's actually, I want to say 20 years old. And the reason I say that is because when I first came out here, we started thinking about how can we get our students outside of the classroom and engaged in their community. I'm not from Jackson County, so when I came, I was just amazed at the stories out here and the amazing people. It's like a Ken Burns film every time you turn around, with the Spartans and the Aeroquip story and the astronauts and all these mighty people who farmed and worked in factories. And so I told my students, let's go out and let's gather stories. And since then, Jackson College allows you to innovate and nurture what works and then weed out what doesn't. And they support the good things that work. And over time, they gave us a small space. And then when the students were producing and engaged and community members came and saw how beautiful they were, they started supporting it even more. And so we're very thankful for that space, but we're not a museum, we're not an archive, and we're not a research center. It's a community of volunteers who organically find themselves together, and then this wonderful, fabulous story comes to the forefront, and we create something, a documentary or a museum display, a traveling display, an art mural, and present it to the community as a gift.
Barb, what was your interest in getting involved with the Heritage Center?
Well, I met Diana through a mutual friend. I'm a quilter, have been a quilter for 50 years. And she had an idea for one of the exhibits they were doing a family tree of the Pond family and the Maher family. And Diana thought that would be a neat way to display it as a quilt. So this friend asked me if I would do it, so I went out and I said, yeah, I think I can do that. And she goes, well, I don't want one quilt, I want two. So she reeled me in, and I've just been in love with the whole concept ever since. So
I've noticed you've brought people in that had I think, thought their family history had been lost and forgotten, like the Ponds. And well, Tony Hurst, for example, it seems like he, along with the Pond sisters, realized that there are people still interested in their father or their grandfather.
Everywhere we go, and every place we land, people who come to the Heritage Center, they stop, and then they'll start telling us stories about their family, about their people. One student came in and she saw a row of pictures of World War II veterans from our college who had passed away in World War II. And she said, that picture's on my aunt's piano. We don't know who he is. And I said, we know who he is. And he's from the G farm out here. And so another gentleman came out and was putting our sign up on the wall, and he said, my dad wrote a song with a prisoner in the correctional institution and gave it to my mom as a gift, and that song will be in our new documentary. One more recent find was one of our students was researching something, and he came across an African-American woman who was a pilot in 1940, an alumni from our school. She won a national poetry contest, and she's a colonel. She has a PhD, and she was on the national, there she is right in the middle. That's Dr. Fannie Jane Cotton. Her book, Determination, if anyone out there has that book, come see us. She called me this past weekend. These are all projects related to our African American community. That display is going to be in the Willow Run National Yankee Air Museum about Roosevelt Steiger. And Representative Kathy Schmaltz came out and gave the students a Michigan tribute for their work with that. And Dr. Ethelene Crockett, all of them went to the AME church out here. So things happen organically. They plop in our laps, and then we just tease them out, and we listen very closely.
A lot of the displays in the Heritage Center, including the quilts, they tend to spur memories and conversations.
They do. And what's fun about it is that I don't make the displays myself. It's interacting with the students and getting them involved. And it's interesting to me how many young people don't know how to do things with their hands except this anymore, and typing. And they love it. We've used paper cutters, I've hauled my sewing machines in so they can actually do the stitching on the quilts, and it's just such a rewarding experience to work with these young people. And I'm old enough to be their great-grandmother probably, but they embrace me, and I love them like they're my kids. And
Diana, you're working on a couple of projects right now. As we take a look at some of the other photos of the displays that are in the Heritage Center.
There's Lieutenant Elwood Bailey. They found his remains the day after we showed the Zenith Pond film. And so Barb thought his life was like a puzzle. And then we have Roosevelt Steiger display there in the middle. He was one of 2 African Americans who went to Michigan and was going for his master's degree, straight A student, straight from our college. He's credited from being from Jackson, Mississippi, but our students discovered he's from Jackson, Michigan.
Wow.
And Dr. Fanny Cotton and Roosevelt Steiger were grandchildren of enslaved peoples. And we know their families, we know where they're from, and we're going to tell their story to a larger community. And here's students, there's Barb working on that I'm laughing because she don't know how to say no. There she is working with those beautiful students. They come at night, they come on the weekend. And community members such as the Michigan Military Heritage Museum and the Cascades group, and so many groups come, and they have a genuine love and care for our students, and they want to share their materials with our students.
Kids are really into it, aren't they?
Yeah, people say they don't care. They don't know what they don't know. They're a different generation. And there's Mr. Potter, our young man there, Braden Pearson, won the George Potter Outstanding Student Award. He's the one who worked hand in hand with Barb on the floor,
crawling around
creating that display. And our students are the stewards of the Cascades Museum. We renovated that with Lynn Loftus about 20 years ago, I want to say, and we're going to redo it this particular year. But those students from back then come back every year. Our students win national awards and national recognition, and they're all volunteers. They don't get a grade, and they don't get paid. But 10 of them, a year and a half ago, I said, let's do your resumes in a different way, and those 10 received over $180,000 in scholarships for their work in the Heritage Center. And right there's Barb Renner on the bottom. She has shared her archive. She's a lifelong Jacksonian, and she's telling us stories. To her left, Natalie Fields, she wrote a 4-page spread in a national journal with the Michigan Military Heritage Museum volunteers. And on the left is Adam Bice, who is another one of our partners in crime, who helped us create those documentaries that won the Governor's Award and 2 Michigan Historical Society Awards. On the far right is beautiful Mr. LaFear. So Mr. LaFear actually will go to their basketball games, he and his wife. He'll wait afterward, and he'll come up, and then he'll come to the Heritage Center and talk about Aeroquip. He has a beautiful soul, and we've come across so many people here in Jackson who are like that.
Yeah, he hands out bubble gum to the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the project you're working on now?
So we have our hand in quite a few. We're re-renovating the Cascades Museum. We're working on Roosevelt Steiger being put in the National Yankee Air Museum and traveling around the county. And we're working on Aeroquip, a documentary that's highlighting what it was like to be young and have dreams like Bill Maher. He died with a little Jimmy Allen flying card in his wallet. What would make that man carry that for 80-something years? It's because he dreamed to fly, and he listened to this cartoon figure. And Peter Hearst had that same boyish charm. And they both grew up at a time when you lived life to the fullest because you had no idea what the next day was going to bring. And so we're very interested in teasing out that.
Anyone can see the Heritage Center. It's on the main floor in the Potter Center on Central Campus at JC. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
From the Jackson College Heritage Center, Director Diana Agee and volunteer Barb Markowski. Well, we've got some birthdays to celebrate. The club is coming up next.